The Digimon card game is my favorite TCG. Whether it's running a deck of your favorite character, playing the best deck in the room to try and win, or just simply throwing some bulk together to have fun, there is something here for everybody. I myself somewhat competitively play, and after I qualified for nationals at a store regional, I figured I'd take the rest of the year to do a little challenge. I'll be starting out with 2 copies of the Fabled Waltz structure deck, and each week give myself $25 to spend on sealed product to hopefully make my deck better. No purchasing singles, no trading cards with friends, just me and hopefully some good cards that I need. Let's see just how far this deck can take me. Welcome to Sealed Only Digimon. BT22 Cyber Eden just came out, and for my Sealed Only challenge, I'm going to be opening some for the pre-release that we had done. I don't think it's going to be game-changing, but there are a couple of cards in here that I think will be extremely good for us. Most of them are rares and supers, but there's a couple of commons that we can pick up along the way. Since we did a pre-release event anyway, I decided to spend my packs on that, much like I did for EX9. This time I'm looking for less cards overall. I think that a larger set of a base set rather than an EX set is going to require us to have a lot more luck to pull some generically good cards. But there's a couple of things that we can pick up along the way. Since I used my 6 packs for that, I also get, as part of the entry, I also get a Digimon Ace, which is going to be fantastic if we ever branch into blue or black as a color. Having that as a generic option is really good for us. And I also got 1 pre-release event pack, which may have something we're looking forward to. Instead of making you guys wait, though, let's go ahead and throw you over to the pack opening and see what we got going on. And it's going to be like we did for EX9. You're not going to have my face cam. You're just going to have me live reacting to it and all that fun stuff. So let's go ahead and throw it over to Disembodied Raven. All right, we have 6 packs of BT22 as well as a pre-release and a Digimon Ace. Really, we're looking for any and all puppet support in here. I think that the Cyber Sleuth stuff is fun. I don't know if it is good enough for us to be able to play. The top end is too high rarity, and if we're wanting to open for supers, we're definitely going to be wanting to go into something else. As we've been going through this, we found a couple of cards that are pretty interesting. The Palmon being one of the 3 rookies that you really want to be playing if you are playing Cyber Sleuth. We picked up a Rise Greymon that lets us play Tamers for free, and the Goldramon, or the Guardramon Gold that we picked up is exceptionally good for BT for pre-release. We picked up a species form. We're not going to be pivoting to Eaters. I don't think the deck does enough for us to justify playing it. Jimmy Ken is very strong and sealed if you pull up the cards for it. And our first super is Airymon. I put it to the side, remember it's super, and pull it back. Unfortunately, I don't think that there's enough of a way for us to get the good fish support in Liberator for us to warrant pivoting to this card. While it's very pretty, and while the foiling on it is fantastic, I think that we're going to stick with what we've been going on. Our second pack, we start off with a Monzemon. It is a puppet. We can consider playing this, and it is DM. If we are able to get it, it does have Armor Purge. If we're able to get a face-down source underneath it, could be good. That Shumon is not great, but it is something that we can consider playing. The Shumon is not great, but the Shumon that I just pulled is something that we'll consider. I think it is very strong. Giving something blocker on play and on deletion is very good for our current strategy. We pulled the level 6, the Kentaurusmon. I think that's also pretty solid. It's not a puppet, so it's a lot harder to search, but it's something. We pulled a Agumon X, and for our release event pack, we pulled the Agu X and the Sendramon. This Sendramon is finding a perfect spot in our home. I've been lamenting the fact that our level 6s are not great. This one doesn't do a ton, but if it lives an extra turn cycle, it makes its tokens back, and it's a very good secondary 6 that we can hopefully have. Our third pack, we pull Blue Mara, which is an absolute all-star for sealed. As you can see, Past Raven is just kind of going through these packs really quickly, just kind of showing off what we pulled and leaving me to talk about it and not giving me enough time to do it. We pull Fakemon. We also pulled an Entermon earlier in our first pack. I don't think that we're going to be pivoting to Atmon. I think that it has too many rares. I know that there are 3 rares, 4 rares, and a super, so it's just not possible for us to play in sealed, but Oranos looks really fun. Okuamon's very good for CS. A lot of the Okua and Kawaga stuff that they've been printing generically are pretty good. Like CS, like this is just if you have 2 same level cards, it just is removal. Like just outright removal that prevents deletion. Platinum Numemon is funny, but I don't think that we'll be playing it any longer, any outside of this event. We're coming up on pack number 4 or 5, I believe. We have Karamon and MCmon. Cyberspace Eden's really strong. A second Repamon, a second Gargomon, a Wanyamon. We're pulling a bunch of the level 4s, but I'm really wishing to see more Terriermons. We've pulled 1 Terriermon and 1 Palmon, and this is our last pack because we pulled the Yuko. Overall, Raven is pretty happy with that pull, and I have to agree as post-commentary Raven, knowing what I know about what's coming up. So let's go ahead and throw it on over to the games, and you'll see my face here in just a second. All right, so for game one, we're playing against a new player at the tournament. Anything is possible in Sealed. I am going to try and keep up. I actually slowed down my footage just a little bit, just to try and keep up a little bit better, but my opponent digivolves into a Shumon in the back and plays an MC-mon. They do a search. They don't have any Atmon in their things or whatever, so they can't do much. I digivolve into Agu X in the back and then hard play a Gardramon, trying to keep them off of a 4 as best as I can. They raid and pierce through my Gardramon. However, they die to a Skull Marimon that I have in my sources. I go ahead and digivolve for 3 my Agu X into a Gargomon to play out a Jimmy Ken from my hand because that's CS rate. They play something, they do a search, they pick up a Kyoko, I believe, and then they pass me over to my 3. I digivolve to a Shumon in the back, and then for 4, I play out an Effectmon. As I've said before and will continue to say, I think low passing is the best thing that you can do in any sort of sealed environment. Being able to kind of prevent your opponents from being able to use any sort of resources is incredibly strong. I'm not seeing a 5 here. Like, that's the first 5 I see is that Rise Greymon that I drew into, but I decided to go ahead and attack with my 4s. The glare that you see is a Gardramon. My camera that I decided to use decided to have astigmatism specifically in that spot, it seems. As somebody with astigmatism, I can relate. I go ahead and digivolve into Rise Greymon for 3. I don't have a tamer to play, but I do become large enough to walk through security. I attack with my Gabumon that I played last turn for some search, and I go ahead and digivolve in the back and for 1, and then it ends up putting them to 3 because I hit a tamer in security. Kind of unfortunate. There's not much I can do for that. They digivolve up, they go into a Garurumon, they do the stuff. I believe I incorrectly read Kawagamon. I think that it has to have 2 of the same cards in sources. I'm going to pause here so that way I can remember what I'm talking about. I believe that it has to have 2 of the same level in its sources, not in the stack. And I misread that. And so I unsuspend with my Platinum Numemon. My opponent does get an unsuspend with that, but I believe that they had nothing in the back. And so they couldn't have killed me or stopped me from killing me, but I do apologize that I misplayed that. However, this does allow me to go into game 1. I understand this seems fraudulent. My apologies. I have learned from my mistakes since then, and immediately after this game, I did indeed learn from my mistakes. We are going to go ahead and clean up though and go into a game 2. My opponent hatches the Sumemon and goes ahead, digivolves into Rokomon, asks if they're able to play the option, and I tell them yes. You know, even though it's in the back, it is considered on your field, much like we see with the adventure cards being able to play stuff from the back. I go ahead and digivolve up the back. I digivolve into the Vmon, and then I digivolve for 2, just kind of trying to do whatever. I might have digivolved for 3 just to low pass. I digivolve into Kirinmon and then into Kentaurusmon, using the Kirinmon effect. The Kirinmon effect is fantastic. I stack a Repa on top to be able to threaten removal next turn and a level 4 body. That's exceptionally strong. My opponent plays Lunamon, doesn't find anything, and then they digivolve into Gargomon. I get to unsuspend, and then I get to kind of do whatever I want here. I end up just giving the Gargomon -2 and playing out the Effectmon for 4 to kind of low pass. I don't play out the Repamon out of security because I forgot that the Kentaurusmon has the effect to trash security to unsuspend. My opponent just suspends something, doesn't prevent me from unsuspending, so I do have 2 bodies now. I decide to stay in back. I use the Kentaurus effect. I trash my top security. My top security's Repa. I play out the Repa, give -6 to something else, and then I am able to walk over a body. I go ahead and attack in with the Effectmon. I have my Kentaurus unsuspended. I digivolve the Repa into a Rise Greymon to play the Yugo. I apologize. And they go into Kuwaga to suspend it and go into a Skull Merit in front. Unfortunately for them, however, this does just mean that I get to attack a total of 3 times and take the game. We walk away 2-0. Some people might think it's fraudulent. I do apologize, but don't be too mad because we're going to see another misplay, because trying to remember what every single card does in the exact card text on the fly during a sealed event is tough. I promise I'm not doing it in an attempt to win games cheatily. Or win games in an unfair manner, I should say. Cheatily is not a word. However, I do want to come out in front of it and apologize. So let's go ahead and go over to game 2 and see what's going on. Game 2 is round 2, I suppose. We're going to start off pretty well. My opponent hatches the Pete in the back and goes into a Hagurumon for free, and then they play Cyberspace Eden. Very, very strong setup. Almost feels like I'm playing against Constructed. I go into Agu X in the back on top of a Kiaramon, and then into a Kawagamon to low pass. My opponent goes ahead and promotes, which I think is odd, and then they digivolve into the Devimon, which allows them to play Jimmy Ken. I apologize for the skipping around. I forgot to put on Do Not Disturb this week, and I was the most popular person this side of the Mississippi. I go ahead and Digivolve into an Infirmon, because I'm going to give them 3 memory regardless. I might as well go out the body that they have. They decide to evolve in the back into a red level 3 that I don't remember, as well as into Gargomon, because they don't really have another tamer that they can play. They go ahead and pay 3 cost to play out their own Augu X. I Digivolve into Vmon in the back, attack with the Infirmon, see what we got going on, play my own Cyberspace Eden. Should have done that in the opposite direction, never punished, however. And then I go ahead and go into Repamon in the back, just trying to build up in their stack. I don't have a 6, or if I do have a 6, it is an ace in my hand. My opponent goes ahead and Digivolves into Gargomon, giving me some minus DP. They go ahead and attempt to attack into me. I do some math. I go ahead and go Vikemon Ace. I incorrectly strip the source instead of de-digivolving them, which doesn't amount to too much different. Because I have the all turns effect, I gained back the memory that would have allowed me to steal turn anyway, so I am just able to attack with Vikemon and out the body regardless. I end up going up through my line up to a level 6 Lord Knight, which is incredibly strong. My opponent doesn't have anything because I was able to blow them out with the Vikemon Ace, and I take game 1. Game 2, they go into Asumimon, into Terriermon, into Togemon, again, feeling like they're playing just outright constructed. I go ahead and Digivolve Augu X into Kuwaga, looking very familiar to game 1. And I pass my opponent low to 1. They go ahead and activate the inherited effect of Terriermon to draw a card and then play a Tamer if they have one. I'm explaining that that's how that combo works, how these cards work, is that you go into a 4 in the back, you slot it underneath, and then you trigger your rookie to be able to do something. They don't have a Tamer to play, unfortunately, so they do go ahead and play out their Caramon, searching, picking up some cards that I missed because my phone is, again, I'm the most popular person, and I just start going up the line. I go up to a Kirinmon to allow me to trash my top security, which is a Blue Mara, which is really unfortunate. I haven't been able to show off how incredibly powerful this card is, and then into a Wargrey to pop Digimon with the highest DP, which is my opponent's or lowest DP, which I choose the Terriermon just because it has a your turn boost effect, so I'd like to get that off of the board as soon as possible. My opponent plays out the Vikemon Ace. They correctly de-digivolve me. This is when I noticed I incorrectly had played last game, but again, doesn't matter because of how the memory stealing had worked. I go up to 3 off of a Jimmy Ken that they hit in my security off their Caramon. I'm sitting here thinking what I want to do. I leave in back. I go ahead and attack over the Caramon with the Kuwaga. I go ahead and play out Rekko, discarding effect to draw 2, and I Digivolve it into an Infirmon in the back. I really like having my 6s are incredibly strong, and I'm trying to get that done as much as I can. They attack with their Vikemon Ace over my suspended body, popping my level 3 that has no sources, kind of clearing my board, which I believe is totally fine for me. I'm okay with losing both of those bodies. They attack into my security, hitting a Repamon. They go ahead and go for a Cyberspace Eden and pay a little bit of memory to Digivolve into a Kirinmon and are not activating its effect. Kirinmon is incredibly strong, being able to kind of do what's necessary to be able to go into any cyber sleuth to be able to trash my top security. I go ahead and Digivolve into Lord Knight, attacking the player to try and get a little bit of something. I have a line in my hand that will out the Vikemon Ace if I'm able to hit something off of Lord Knight, but I unfortunately don't. I realize after this game just how low my Lord Knight hits are. My opponent attacks into me. They attack into Cyberspace Eden. I'm realizing that I discarded. I go ahead and play out the Repamon, but it's not enough. They'll go ahead and they're sitting on the middle Garurumon that outed my stack, as well as this Vikemon Ace that will be able to out anything. I kind of start looking through my cards. I count how many cards are left in my deck. I'm kind of just looking. They hard drop the Infirmon to delete my Repamon, and at this point, there's nothing much I can do. We go ahead and lose game 2, but we're going into game 3 of round number 2. I Digivolve into a Sengo in the back and drop a Caramon, get some search on, grab the Kirinmon that has been invaluable so far. Very, very strong card. My opponent hatches a Pyoyomon into a Sengomon in the back. We're Sengo twins. And then they are about to drop a Jimmy Ken, realize that they don't want to do that because they want to have a little bit more. They want to have a little bit more to do on their turn. They go ahead and do Cyberspace Eden and then drop Jimmy Ken. This allows me to start of turn, go ahead and Digivolve into Gargomon to be able to hard drop to play my own Jimmy Ken for free. I'm able to get 2 checks in, and then I go into Kirinmon and I choose not to activate its effect. This is because I have a Vikemon Ace in hand, and if they decide to attack into me with this Togemon, they Digivolve into Togemon, and if they choose to attack into me, I do get to just completely blow them out, which is exactly what they do. They fall for the bait. They walk into my Kirinmon, and at this point, I'm kind of just cooking. I believe I have jamming in my sources. I attack into security. I build up to Blue Mara in the back. My opponent has 2 Tamers, and they begin to try and build up, hoping that they can live long enough. But with Jimmy Ken and a CS rookie in my trash, they cannot do enough. They're kind of just building up, looking at their options. They build up to an Infirmon in the back, but I get to promote Blue Mara, activate its effect, pay 3 memory, get my Caramon effect. I end up not activating my Jimmy Ken for whatever reason because it's only on play when Evo. I'm able to activate my main effect and then attack in with the Blue Marimon along with Caramon with Alliance and swing with Vikemon Ace for game. Very, very good set. Very happy with my performance outside of the times that I cheated. Again, sorry, I'm a card game player. You can't expect me to know how to read. Come on, come on, come on, come on. All right, game 3. This is going to be a very short set just due to my opponent's unfortunate hands. As you can see, they hard dropped a Gargomon going first in game 1. This just lets me do pretty much anything that I want. I go ahead and drop my own Repamon. I trash my top security, give -6, and then I Digivolve in the back. This gives me 2 level 4s to start my next turn with. They go ahead and play out their Dark Tyranno X. I attack in with my Kawaga that I had in the back. I attack with my Repamon. The Repamon should have died. I don't know why it did not, but that's okay. I just go ahead and play Gardramon. They Digivolve for 4 because it's Dark Tyranno X, and they play out on Amy, but I just have enough attacks on board. My Repamon should be dead, but I go ahead and don't even do that anyway. I attack with the Kawagamon. I suspend, I go to a Kuamon, suspend their body, walk over it, attack with my other 2 bodies. They both die successfully this time, and I promote up my rookie in the back, and I just swing for game twice because that's what we're looking at. Next game, very, very quick game 1. My opponent goes ahead and goes into Sango into Devimon in the back for 3. I go Palmon into Marimon, and then hard drop an Agu X just to have something going on. My opponent attacks with the Devimon, hits a body, has jamming, so they survive, and then they play Kurumi Detective Agency. I go ahead and activate the Palmon. They choke me to 1. However, I'm able to activate my Palmon Inherited effect to go ahead and go ahead and take my top source slot underneath, gain a memory, draw a card, Digivolve into another 2, which is Gargomon, which allows me to play out a free Tamer. I play out Caramon as well to draw a card and get a search on, and go to my next turn. I unsuspend. I realize that I attempt to go into Terriermon, but I don't want to pass over any memory because I want to be able to use Palmon here. And then I use the Palmon effect and realize I don't have another 4 that I want to commit right now. So I go ahead and attack with the Caramon, and then I hard drop the Terriermon that I was going to Digivolve into. I use Ree's effect incorrectly. I am 3 for 3 on cheating in sets so far. I am able to Digivolve for free, or for reduced cost of 2, or for reduced cost of 3 for 2 into the Lord Nightmon. I shouldn't have been able to do this. I can only be at 3 or fewer security, but oopsie. We go ahead and Digivolve. I attack. I actually hit a Recomon off of this, which is all the better. Realistically, Lord Knight, I am looking at kind of a detriment, but sometimes it does hit. They go ahead and Digivolve up. They hard drop something, and they Digivolve up the back into the Lekismon. I go ahead and attack. I hit an Effectmon again, and I just swing for game. Again, this game should have gone on longer. I apologize again. I really just look like I'm the biggest cheater on this side of North America, but I promise that this is very uncharacteristic. I really should be reading my cards better. But if it makes you guys feel any better, round 4, I don't believe I cheated anybody. I hope. Let's find out. Round 4 is up against Kelly. Kelly opened a secret, an Altar, and I believe 2 super rares, and is using only one of those 4 cards. So the rest of their pulls were incredible, and we're just going to see how it goes. They go ahead and play out a Gabumon, get some searching going on. I go ahead and play out a Yugo after Digivolving in the back, and then they go ahead and attack into my security with the Gabumon, hitting a Repa and dying. They go ahead and go into the Skullmara. They activate its effect using the Jimmy Ken that they had played previously, going for effectively for 5, but they do get a draw 2, trash 1. I go ahead and promote Togemon and attack in. Because I've been chipped down to security, I correctly do Lord Knight this time. Lord Knight effect allows me to attack in and get my opponent down to 3 security as well. I reboot, I miss off of everything, and yeah, we're looking pretty solid here. I really wish Lord Knight had blocker, and I understand why it doesn't. My opponent goes ahead and decides to attempt to out my level 4 stack, which I think is totally fair. They go ahead and attack in. I attack into a player, activate my effect, and I raid into the body that the Repamon that they had dropped to keep them off of anything. They don't have any rookies in rotation, so if I can just kind of keep them off of anything that they want to be doing, that is ideal for me, especially since I have Yugo. If they drop anything too big, I can just raid into it and then Yugo effect to gain some extra DP to live. My opponent, I attack into their security this time around because I have a Repa in my hand that I'm going to be using to out the Effectmon that they have on board. And I actually hit a Yugo for them, so they actually get to commit a little bit more to the board. They use the Yugo effect to bottom deck some stuff, but it doesn't matter. I just have too many bodies, and I swing out for game. Game 2, I open 0 rookies. This is really bad for me. My opponent opens a level 4. My opponent hits my camera to show dominance. They Digivolve to a 4 in the back, and then they Evo up front for free. They go into, this is really sad for me. They go ahead and promote, they go ahead and activate the Terriermon Inherited effect to play out a Nokia for free, effectively, by drawing a card and playing something out. And Nokia is incredibly strong in general. Like, we're seeing some Omnimon decks come back with Nokia at the forefront. We're skipping ahead a little bit here. I do some searching, I do some stuff. My opponent goes into a Skullmera in the back. I swing at their security with my Skullmera, hoping to draw some extra cards just to try and find something, and my opponent has an Effectmon that they hit. So then it becomes their turn. They Digivolve for 3 in the back. They attempt to go into Rise Gray. I remind them it's going to cost 4, so they go into Infer instead. They attack into my security with their Lord Knight, and we go from there. I Digivolve into Terriermon. In the back, just trying to do something. I Digivolve into Kentaurus for free. Kentaurus is being just, a powerhouse. With my Wind Digivolving effect, I'm able to place a card on top of my security. I activate Kiranmon effect to give the Lord Knight minus 8,000. I activate the Kentaurus effect, trashing the Kiranmon I put on top to unsuspend, giving minus 8,000, and then walking over the Lord Knight. I attack into security and hit something else with 12,000. There's not much I can do there. I had barrier, but I really don't want to go minus security because they do have the Skullmera in back, and then they have the Nokia, so they're able to kind of get some extra advantage. They do promote their Skull Knight, and I was right to not want to barrier because they do end up degenerating it, and then going into Blue Mera to activate its effect to get Kiramon out. So I am down to 0 security against 3 bodies. I promote my body, and it's not looking great. I'm trying to figure out mathematically if there is a way for me to out bodies here. I kind of walk over the 2 smaller bodies, but there's not a good way for me to out this Blue Meramon. I Digivolve into Rise Greymon. I play out a body, and with the Kawaga, I prevent them from unsuspending, but I don't think it's enough. They go ahead and Digivolve. They Digivolve and then go into Air Vidramon for 3, and then they go into Rise Gray, and they just clear my entire board, and that's just game. I kind of play for a minute here, but I've very quickly realized that nobody's on board with a Digimon my opponent controls that can unsuspend and kill me next turn is inconquerable. So we're gonna go to game 3 of round 4. Oh, and then they even showed off the Omni that they're playing, that they opened. How fantastic for me! Round 4, I go ahead and go Gabu in the back on top of a CS trait, and then I go play a re-out just to try to get some extra memory. I Digivolve my Vmon in the back into Togemon on my next turn because my opponent and I are kind of just passing around back and forth, whatever. I play out Karamon. I give them 2 memory because they go up 1. Hagurumon's effect will trigger here, giving my Karamon minus 3 to out me, which is a bummer, but there's not much I can do. But we do go ahead and go Blue Mera here. I attack with Alliance. First card that I hit is a Vikebond, so I die. That's really not good for me. I really wanted to be able to do something else. They go into Repamon to out my body, and then they go into Arrow Vidramon. I'm still optimistic that I can kind of pivot this around. I Digivolve for 2 in the back. I Digivolve for 1 in the back into Terrier, and then for 2 into Goldramon. They attack into my security. They attempt to Digivolve their Arrow Vidramon into Blue Mera. I remind them that Arrow Vidramon's a 5, so they activate their Hagurumon effect, Digivolve, play out the Blue Mera, activate the effect. The Jimmy Ken should be suspended here, but they didn't do it when they Digivolved, actually. They just did it as their main effect. My opponent and I talked about this after the fact. Kelly and I agreed that we both played some of the sloppiest Digimon of our lives. We had both had a lot of lines that could have been a lot safer than what we had done. But like here, I'm able to go up my line and out their stack. And here's the part of the set where we just look at each other and out each other's level 6s, and there's not much we can do. My opponent, Kelly, goes into a Skullmera in the back. I activate my Terriermon effect, trying to Digivolve, trying to find some sort of action, hopefully trying to find an ace. I Digivolve for 1, Digivolve for 2. I hit a 5, which is the Rise Greymon that I can't use the effect of because I control 2 Tamers. The Skullmeramon comes out, and then they Digivolve into something, maybe. Yep, they Digivolve into the Boltmon, and then they activate the effect to Skullmeramon. They delete my level 5, and so we're kind of just in a weird position. We're both going to 4 memory, so we're both able to out each other, but my opponent has 2 floats off of this Boltmon, one off of Boltmon itself, and then one off of the Skullmera Inherits. It's looking really dicey for me. I have to find a clean way to out both the body that's on there and the 2 bodies that will spit out afterwards, and I'm gonna tell you now, there's not a great way to do that. I Digivolve into my own Skullmera into the Wargrade Apoplos DP, and then they just play the 1 Devimon out, but with 4 memory, they go into Rise Greymon, and then they go into a Digimon of their own, of the Dioboromon. They play a token, and then the token pops my thing. I have a Skullmera here that allows me to, I realize a little bit too late, but the Skullmera allows me to play out something. I play out the Goldramon, popping their token that they played off of the Dioboromon, and here I have to go, okay, well, how do I prevent you from doing anything? Because the Devimon that they played out also is going to float again. I go into Akuamon for 3, hoping to suspend them down, maybe finding something that can attack it, maybe finding something that'll do something. I go ahead and Digivolve them 1. I guess, or twice, I guess. Yeah, Digivolve 2. So they're back down to the Devimon, but that just allows them to go into another Rise Greymon into Wargrey, and I just decided to give it up there. They have successfully outed every body that I had, and there's not much I can do. We end up the day going 3-1 overall. Some misplays that could be considered cheating from my end, and I do apologize about that. If it makes you guys feel any better, my reward for getting second overall at the tournament was 3 total packs. And I went ahead and opened them for fun for myself, just because I haven't opened packs for myself for a while, and there was not really much in there. I didn't pull anything above a rare. So with that all being said, next week, look forward to me opening up some BT 22. I have my box right here that I'm going to be pulling my packs for. Again, as a reminder, I'm using my local game store, Grandmaster Games. Their pricing on packs is $4.50 a pack. If I find a better deal online, I will be using that price, but I'm going to use them as a baseline just to keep it more similar. EX9 is $5.50 a pack, and I don't think you guys want to see me opening only 4 packs to try and hit 1 super out of 7, or 9, I think. With that being said, look forward to seeing some more BT22 opening next week. We're going for that Neon Boot, but more importantly, we're going for the Sendril and for the Orisa. I think both of those cards will be fantastic additions to what we have cooking. So if you guys liked the video, make sure that you like the video, subscribe, leave a comment, all the other call to action stuff. Let me know what you think. Let me know what packs you want to see me open. If you want to see me going BT22, go back to EX9 or go to some other crazy thing. I'd love to hear what you guys are thinking. So until next time, go make somebody's day. Take it easy. See ya.